Scaling your e-commerce brand with Google Ads, it's entirely predictable simply because Google Ads is a system of inputs and outputs. And the better you strategize around how the algorithm truly works, the more you can scale. So in this video, I'm going to give you the exact strategy and a look into these systems which can allow you to scale your e-commerce brand exclusively using Google Ads beyond $300,000 per month, and that too to cold traffic. Now, getting this system on your side and outsmarting Google's algorithm to scale beyond 300K per month is all about targeting with Google Ads. Targeting the right audience ultimately is what your main goal should be. How do you achieve this? The problem is most e-commerce brand owners, they think that the surface level changes within their Google Ads strategy, clicking buttons within their dashboard is what is going to scale their brand to the next level. So they completely ignore what Google truly wants. They completely ignore how the algorithm works, and as a result the algorithm never truly favors their brand and it never truly scales their brand to the very next level. The first thing you want to understand about scaling beyond 300K per month is to first know where the targeting with your campaigns is really happening or where it truly happens. What you want to understand is Google Ads is a complete auction-based system. So anytime you do a search for whatever product on Google, within that millisecond that it took to showcase those different product listings, search ads, etc., there was this crazy auction which took place behind the scenes. And this auction was determined by a variety of different factors ranging from your landing page experience, the expected CTRs of your ads, the bids, the budget, the product feed quality, the quality score. All these things ultimately came together to give your brand and your products this one major score, and according to this score is where you were ranked compared to your competition. And essentially all of this boils down to the targeting that Google does, because your product pages, the metadata and feed structure within Google is what does the heavy lifting. And this is how you get the Google Ads algorithm on your side. You essentially outsmart it. You need to know where the targeting is happening first, and you need to start with your product pages, the metadata, the product feed structure, optimize it according to the most relevant traffic to the perfect customer, and then portray all of these things sort of like a package to what your users wants to see. And this could be from the keywords you have within your product titles, the description, the color scheme of how your landing page is laid out, and the speed, and so much more. But when you have the first foundational step in order, then we proceed on to the second step, which is starting with clean fundamentals. What this essentially means is Google crawls your site to decide who should see your ads, which means if you have a weak landing page, it's going to equal weak audience signaling, which ultimately is going to lead to a lot of wasted ad spend. So to work backwards, if you want to avoid wasted spend and if you want to prevent not scaling to 300K or more per month in revenue, you need to then work on your audience signals. How do you do that? You need to work on your landing pages from the product images. And nowadays, Google is actually looking at things like how many images do you have? Are those HQ images or are they very low quality images? Google looks at the pixel rate and so on and so forth. It's understanding what your product titles are, descriptions, the feed attributes, even on the Shopify backend or whatever CRM you may be using. But all of these things make up the fundamentals. And when those are clean, that's when you can even imagine getting to that 300K per month in revenue. But that brings us to the third major step, which is optimizing your sites for intent-based targeting. So as you can see, we're still talking about the fundamentals. We're still on the landing page experience, the product feed, because this is truly what scales any e-commerce brand beyond this multi-six-figure per month level. Using the keywords from the Google Insights section and the reports tab is your best bet here, because you don't want to randomly implement any random keywords from the Google Keyword Planner tool. You don't want to guess these keywords. You want to use the data that's coming in to further guide what the keywords should be within the back end. And the main goal here is not to just put them in a lump sum approach in one specific part of your website and that's it, you're finished. Rather, you want to sprinkle them throughout your product feed and throughout your entire approach, from the product titles, product descriptions, landing page copy, product feed fields. This should say copy, but essentially sprinkling throughout these different areas is what reassures the algorithm that this is exactly what the user should be seeing, first of all, and this is how targeting should work. All we're doing with these approaches is we're training the algorithm to go after our perfect customer. But The fourth thing you must do is let the product attributes in the backend do the targeting. So by this point, you already have a very solid foundation. All of the things are in place for Google to now crawl through your website, understand your perfect customer, and scale accordingly. But to now top it up, to really get the brand going in the right direction, get the algorithm on your side, you need to use product level details that Google highlights, such as free shipping or the color information or the number of extruders. These are all product attributes which are custom according to the product you sell. For example, if you're in the fashion industry, some of these attributes and that Google highlights might be the sizing, the color, the texture, the material, so on and so forth. If you're in the automotive industry, it might be something completely different. You need to customize this approach within the merchant center and the feed to make it according to what the user wants to see, because these should be reflecting actual search behavior. And when you put them into your site and feed, so Google knows who's searching for what, that's when now you're really getting the targeting on your side. And ultimately, scaling is all about the right targeting. Fifth thing you want to do is support all these things with proper audience segments. I see so many brands I work with under my agency, Euro Marketing, which, by the way, if you're on a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you want to scale to the next level with Google Ads, go on to my website at euromarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But audience segments, all you want to be doing with this approach is creating custom segments with the remarketing list via the Audiences Manager section you can find within your Google Ads account, and you putting them in the accounts level, because although these are helpful, these are secondary metrics which Google uses for targeting purposes. Again, the more data you're getting in, essentially you're creating a loop within your Google Ads account to scale. You're getting data, cold traffic data. Some of it converts, some of it doesn't at the very top. Then moving forward with that loop, you are using that data, storing that data within these audience lists, audience segments, and then you're putting that audience segment list within the back end of your Google Ads account to then complete this loop and create this circular formation where these feed each other all that data. But what you want to understand is most of your scale will come from the site and the feed quality. And final thing with scaling to 300K per month or more that I've seen is don't mistake campaign settings for the strategy. You could spend all day, all night doing all these fancy things within campaign settings and all these buttons you click, and at the end, it's not going to lead to any sustainable results or scale to multi-six figures. And I speak from experience here because we've scaled a lot of ad accounts to a 9x ROAS, 10x ROAS, and more with zero audiences selected, with no type of crazy offer or no type of crazy setting within the backend. It's the more simple it is, the better it should be, because if you have been following all of these things so far, the targeting already happened via the clean feed and the intent-rich site structure. These things are your pillars for getting to 300K or more per month. Now, there's a lot of videos on my channel about the different campaign strategies you can implement, so on and so forth. It's besides the point. If your foundation is not weak, you are never going to be able to scale to 300K per month or more, period. So at this point, if you have been following all of these things, your foundation should be so strong that no matter what campaign strategy you implement, what campaign structure you implement, there's a much, much higher chance that that will be the one that scales the brand to the very next level. It's about keeping things simple and straightforward. But again, if you're on a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go on to my website at yourmarketing.com, schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.